All right, it's my pleasure to bring this Board of Fire Commissioners meeting for January 24th, 2023, South King Fire and Rescue to order. All commissioners are present in person. Commissioner Berger, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we go any further in the agenda, I'd like to take a moment. I think as we're all aware, retired Fire Chief Bud Thorson passed away a few days ago. And I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to remember Bud. I don't know, I didn't look it up to see how many years Chief Thorson had been with our department. I didn't know a lot. What I do know is that he was certainly active in the fire service, whether it be locally here, all the way up to the state level. So certainly was a force in terms of the fire service. He was also very, very active in the community. He was a leader in the community. And being a leader in the community back then, we were not a city. So there was no city government, there was no city council, there was no mayor. So other people sort of stood up and stepped up and got things done. But he was certainly active in the community. One thing I might mention is that in 1977, the Federal Way Citizen of the Year Award was given to Bud Thorson and the volunteers from Fire District 39. Anyway, certainly you remember Bud for a long time, and our thoughts and prayers go off to the Thorson family. All right. Need to approve minutes from the last meeting. I can have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of December 27th, 2022.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the minutes for the December 27th, 2022 meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Thompson, seconded by Mr. Berger. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes of December 27th, say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Comments, start with Mr. Thompson.
Great. Thank you.
But Mr. Vidino, are you ready?
Happy New Year to everybody. Had the opportunity to attend a workshop, Federal Way City Council workshop retreat with Chief Matafton and Commissioner Berger. And topic of discussion, the main topic of discussion was the downtown core redevelopment and the funding model for that. And one is they're considering the tax increment financing, which would have a significant impact to revenue for the district, because we would not be getting any revenue from that project for up to 25 years. And the revenue that we're currently getting from that area would be frozen at whatever the rate is when we initiate the tax increment financing. So basically, we would be providing services without total compensation. The rest of the citizens in the district would be underwriting those services. So we have some supporters on the council that we're looking out for our best interest in the discussions, but it's still ongoing. And Chief Matafton is working with the city to get a meeting together to further discuss the impacts and maybe some mitigation. Mitigation is available through negotiations with the city. And we have some ideas, I think, that will get us some revenue and hopefully. What else? I went through withdrawals on Sunday, no football for any team that I was supporting. And so it was a long day. But anyway, I too echo the comments by the chair regarding Chief Thorson. He kind of ushered through the years, the merger of the 5 fire districts into one. And which has ultimately resulted in the merger with another district, a 6th district, and that was Des Moines, which is now, we're all part of South King Fire and Rescue. So very forward-thinking, visionary, and he was the Chiefs Association president for a couple of years and raised the bar in that organization as well. So yeah, we Federal Way during his reign, or his reign as chief, trained a lot of resident firefighters here that went elsewhere across the state and across the country. And so the impact of Federal Way Fire Department is widespread, and because of some of the policies and programs that Chief Thorson instituted. So good job. Be missed for sure. So anyway, that's it, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Benito,
Thank you. Are you currently from that one?
Mr. Fuller.
Yes, looking at the monthly report, thing that really caught my attention is the amount of things focus on accountability, training, and just a very positive attitude throughout the report. The only complaint I have is Santa went by my house too fast, and I didn't get to run out there and way back.
Mr. Berger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll reserve my comments for other items on the agenda.
Okay. All right. And I'm not moment either, so. All right. Election of board chair for 2023. Are there any nominations for board chair 2023?
Mr. Chairman, I'd be pleased to nominate Bill Gates for the fill in the blank year in succession. We don't know how many years, but I think another year of service is more than appropriate, deserved. And so I'm glad to nominate Bill Gates as our chair for this year.
I'll second the nomination.
Are there any other nominations?
How many years has it been, Bill?
Too many to count.
Wait a minute, maybe I'm going to withdraw my nomination. You know, Lori, how many
I
years?
think it's 10 or 12.
10 or 12. We'll add a 13.
Okay. If there are no other nominations, then it's all in favor of myself for chair, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much. All right. election of board vice chair 2023. Are there any nominations?
Nominate, Mark Thompson.
A second.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, all in favor of electing Mark Thompson vice chair for 2023, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing unanimously. Very good.
Thank you for your support.
Okay, later. All right. Are there any public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 7, Commissioner Committee reports. I'd like to start off and make one comment here regarding the Commissioner guidelines. At the December meeting, we passed guidelines and basically passed all of the changes, recommendations that had been made. And last Friday, I went down to the station to pick up my packet. There were no packets there. And so I sent an email to Lori and I said, "Are the packets ready yet?" I didn't tell her I was standing in the mailroom. And she emailed me back and said, I forget exactly what she said, but in the guidelines, you passed the change that the packets will come out electronically. And I replied back, I guess I missed that change. Anyway, I think what I'd like to suggest or ask is, when we passed all of the changes last month, we really had two that we were looking at before us. One regarding commissioner compensation and one regarding one of the standing committees. The other changes, the other full set of guidelines had been mailed to us in August. And we never did go through them or discuss them. I think partly because the next meeting, Mark was on vacation, couldn't call in, and we somehow never got around to it. So if anybody feels like we maybe passed something that really never got a chance to be discussed, or something you'd like to add some comments on, what I'm going to do is ask Lori to give everybody a fresh hard copy of the guidelines, newly formatted and all that good stuff. And take a look at them. And if there's any comments, changes you want to make, anything you want to discuss, get those changes to, we send them to Lori or to Mark or to Bill.
Would need to come to me, and then the policy procedure committee would meet, because if you were to send them to the two commissioners, then that would be a violation of the Public Meeting Act.
So if there are any changes that after you look at them, get those changes to Lori, maybe take a couple weeks to do that. And then that'll give her and the policy procedures committee maybe a couple weeks to meet. And so that if we want to review anything at next month's meeting, we can do so.
Seems to me that's really an administrative issue and doesn't even belong in the bylaws.
You're talking about the electronic
Yeah.
agenda packet? Well, that's an example.
Think through that, but
That's probably an example of why we need to talk about it.
Yeah.
But Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Bill. I strongly support that. I think that's not only good for us, but for the public in case there's a question or comment on it. It's our policies and procedures, and I think it's important enough that it's worth a discussion, formal adoption. could I ask through the chair, Lori, is it possible to give us not only a clean version of the proposed document, but a clean red line version as well? Because I think we've seen more than one red line version in the past, and to be honest with you, I got a little confused. Is that possible to do that as well?
Let me see what we have.
Yeah, and I think like on the guidelines or, I mean, on our
Several
packets.
times. And we had the first red line version we sent out, then we got responses back, and correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Thompson and Bowler. And then the committee met and took all of your suggestions and discussed them, and then we sent out the final version.
What happened when, for me anyway, when I downloaded it, it kind of got messed up
Okay,
on my computer in terms of the red line version. And so it would really be helpful to have a, when I say a clean red line, I mean red line versus the current document without any changes. So we're going from, assuming we did the moment at the last meeting, what exists versus what's proposed in both clean and red line. Then we can easily see what the changes are from existing, if
Sure.
possible. Because I can't do it from my computer because it overrode and it's a mess.
we were doing two things when we very first started updating the guidelines. And Commissioner Thompson, we were highlighting the new stuff, and I want to say making it in yellow. And then the stuff we were deleting was in red or had a strike through. That's how we started doing the document before we started quote unquote tracking changes. So,
Yeah, I think it's just the way I downloaded it.
okay, I'll see what
The
we have.
track changes on or off, or I'm not good at that.
No, it did not. You don't have to have, you shouldn't have the track changes on because they will not register.
That's probably what happened. So
Yes.
I can't go back and look at a red line. That's why I'm asking for a, an accurate red line if possible. Thank you.
Anything else regarding commissioner committees? Okay, approval of the strategic bridge plan.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the strategic bridge plan as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made to approve the strategic bridge plan by Commissioner Thompson, seconded by Commissioner Berger. Discussion?
I assume that we sometime in the future, we'll start to see performance measures roll out with the specifics of what, how each of those is going to be met.
We reached a point in this where I believe that we needed to have this to sort of memorialize this, and going forward, we're going to begin to fill in the blanks, so to speak. So yes.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to compliment everybody. I mean, there's a lot of work went into this. There was a lot of thought that went into it by the different participants that were in the different pillars of this plan. And we need to carry on and not be hung up on the way we used to do it, but how we want to do it in the future. And there's a need based upon the comments through the organizational health assessment that is the driver behind these, and we need to aggressively and open-mindedly work on this plan to carry us into the future.
I'm impressed. I think we got an awful lot put together during a short period of time. But the way that you set it up, and pillars and everything, I think worked very, very well.
I agree with the comments of the chair and vice chair. I want to particularly thank and congratulate Director Lee for his leadership in doing this massive effort involving dozens and dozens of people at all levels of the organization through the chairman said, a very short period of time. The consultant was very impressed with. I've never participated As Chief Matappan knows, of all the strategic plans I've been involved in, both public and private sector, anything quite like this, I was a little skeptical at the beginning if something like this could be pulled off in such a short amount of time in this sort of unique bridge process. But it's an impressive document. A lot of work's going to be required to implement it in the 2 years that are set out here. But congratulations to Chris Patrick. Great job.
Thank you.
It addresses the organizational health assessment issues very well. And covered a lot of territory in that health assessment.
Any other comments? Okay, motion has been made and seconded to adopt the strategic bridge plan 2023-2024. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, resolution 626. If the chief would read that, please.
I will. Resolution 626, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South King Fire and Rescue, King County, Washington, establishing meal per diem and mileage expenses for district personnel, adopted by the Board of Commissioners of South King Fire and Rescue, King County, Washington, at a regular meeting this 24th day of January 2023, with the following commissioners being present and voting.
Is there a motion and a second to approve resolution 626?
We approve. Resolution 626.
Motion made by Commissioner Fuller, seconded by Commissioner Thompson. Discussion, questions? If not, all in favor of approving resolution number 626, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And resolution 627.
Resolution 627, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South King Fire and Rescue, King County, Washington, establishing Juneteenth as a holiday and setting forth the revised district holiday schedule, adopted by the Board of Fire Commissioners of South King Fire and Rescue, King County, Washington, at a regular meeting this 24th day of January 2023, with the following commissioners being present and voting.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 627.
I move to approve resolution 627.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Bedino, seconded by Commissioner Berger. Comments?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question, in order to commend whoever brought this forward. I don't know if this was staff or another commissioner, member of the public, but Dave, do you know is it you who proposed this? It's certainly appropriate with both the Congress and our state legislature having done so, but just curious how this came forward.
I believe it came from staff.
Very appropriate, just join the national and state governments and then recognizing Juneteenth. All of it.
And if I can ask a question on the holidays, on the last one, today, either before or after the Christmas holiday. The district decide which day is the holiday?
Yeah, some of the labor contracts already specify Christmas Eve. So there's a group that does not currently receive that benefit. So we wanted to leave it up to the group to provide input on that, but that allows the district the flexibility to decide which one.
Is Juneteenth, Joe, Juneteenth and the last bullet, which you just described, the only changes to our?
That's correct. Yes, when this was addressed, and just to kind of clarify, this is something we've been wanting to do for several years, and it's unfortunately just been backburnered. But when I approached the board secretary, we've had a discussion, and it's been so long since there's been a record of official holidays that the board has adopted, we felt it was appropriate to just bring forth a new schedule and memorialize it.
Thank you.
Any other comments or anything? Okay, all those in favor of approving resolution number 627, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Administrative team report.
I believe you have a pretty thorough report from all staff. However, I know that Commissioner Berger had requested Chief Cheney give a report. But prior to that, I would think, you have any specific questions of any staff members?
One question on that, and I don't have it in front of me here, but on training, and it said something like, you know, the goal will be to have 80% of the training completed every quarter or something like that. You know, what happens to the other, does the other 20% carry over to the next quarter, or does it get done, or?
It's a little bit of a combination of all three considerations. So not every training that is assigned has an opportunity for our firefighters to attend in that quarter based on schedules. And so some of those classes carry over. Some classes that get assigned may not be applicable to them based on their qualifications. And so those fall off the plate after the end of the quarter. And then there are those courses that are offered once and somebody may be on vacation or they may be on a debit day and they may or may not get it, and those fall off the plate at the end of the quarter. It's mainly a scheduling, it's a function of scheduling and qualifications.
Thank you.
So I didn't think it was appropriate for me to speak earlier when Commissioner Berger was talking about the strategic plan, but I do want to make note that Summer has been an instrumental part in the planning process with us. And I just want to make sure that's captured on the record. And she will be helping us moving forward. So.
Thank you, Mitch. Sorry, I should not have left her out.
That's okay. I didn't feel it was
I know
appropriate
she's
for me
a
to
key
speak.
support person.
Yes.
I was looking at you, not the.
No, I get it. And I just wanted to give her some mention there. So.
Before we go to Chief Cheney, another question? Oh,
Can I just introduce, I was intrigued, if I'm not Mr. Chair, when I read Chief Cheney's summary of last month's activities. He talked about the potential establishment of a program that apparently the city of Seattle Fire Department has. And he's copied it for us, the Strategic Leadership Development Program. And I asked him to come to the meeting tonight and tell us more about that concept. Specifically in his report, he referred to the chief of that department, Chief Scoggins, for input to make sure that that program and a proposed program for South County departments would be consistent and remain solvent. I asked that he explain what that means, consistent and solvent. And then I also asked Rick about funding. Where would the funding come from for such a program? So if you could just tell us more about it.
Yeah.
I think we'd appreciate hearing about it.
What I tried to do, or I have done, is included the Seattle model for their Executive Leadership Academy. And I contacted Dr. Avalio to see where that would fit into our program. Specifically, like EFO requires a bachelor's degree to get into the program. This one doesn't. So where did he feel it would fit in our program? He stated it should be earlier, and he forwarded back not only his comments, but this proposal to create a South King County model for the consortium. When I took that to Chief Webb down at the consortium, he said, whoa, wait a minute. And out of professional courtesy, he wants us to, and it's the right thing to do, go talk to Chief Scoggins and make sure that, A, we're not stepping on his toes, because it was his child that he worked with the University of Washington to create this. So we want to make sure that we're not stepping on his toes, which I'm confident in his leadership that he won't find out, but we should ask him that. And then also explore the fact that other departments bring cohorts into their program to make sure that we're not going to take away from the cohorts so that they can't sustain their program. In other words, then we would just join with theirs and not create one down here. But if we could create one up down here, the advantage to that is the students would be working on problems and issues in our departments rather than Seattle's. And the input would be coming from our leadership rather than the Seattle leadership. So that, and Dr. Alevio changed this program, made modifications to the Seattle program for that. It's really the key to this executive leadership academy is really focuses on experience and doing something over coursework. So that's kind of the key to it.
So would it be on the chief officer? I presume this would be for chief officers or potential chief officers?
He even suggested all the way down to the company level officer, because he says we need to start thinking this way. Teach them earlier. I think we're going to fold it into the battalion chief level.
Not having had a chance to read this proposal, of course, yet, but was the idea, the concept that you're talking about here would be something that folks would do on their own time, on company time? How would it work? How does it work in Seattle?
They do it on their own time, I believe.
On their own.
There's concepts in here that I can't address because this is for the training consortium. So each department, leadership and labor are going to have to come to an agreement on.
So Chief Captain, we would hear more about this later, presumably, if it has legs. It comes to us.
And you asked about the cost. It's actually, when I found out how much it costs per student, my jaw hit the deck. It's only $4,000 per student for a 2-year program.
Great, 2-year program.
I think a key item, element is how does it fit into the bridge plan? And how do you integrate, is it integrated, does it conflict? Where does it fit in that strategic bridge plan?
I would say it's gonna fall under the leadership component or pillar. That's an interesting point. We need to look at that and fold it in. This has not been adopted, however, it's in draft form. And so as we develop the bridge plan, I think we need to leave a position open for it to be inserted in that and work through that process. But the consortium, at least in my opinion, needs an opportunity to review this. I don't know that it would be adopted consortium wide exactly the same. I think there'll be adjustments based on each department's specific needs. But it would be nice to have at least the body of it remain intact throughout the consortium. And I think we have a little ways to go before we get to that point. But the goal being establishing it there first. And then I think we can fold it into our bridge plan. That would be my recommendation. That
As
is
part of officer development, or the officer development goal that we already have in the bridge plan. Strategic. Thank you for the elaboration, Greg.
I have a question. Chief, would this also include maybe the top couple of candidates on the promotional list? So if we have some idea as to how many promotions are going to be had during the length of the list, and maybe target those folks and get them trained up as well, so there's no gap when they take office.
I'm not opposed to that in concept. I think we probably want to discuss that with labor and find out what the implications are there. But I think that there's probably some merit to that for sure. especially if we're gonna start this at the BC level, so.
I hate to see us get into the program and then we have a gap because we make a few promotions and stuff and there's a crack there that needs to be filled. So if we could get it ahead of time, it'd be a lot more conducive to continuing the goal of getting people educated and trained.
It's certainly gonna take time, some people's time, because you see a lot of coaching, and teamwork, team preparation, follow-up, cross-boundary development. It will take some time to get. It's not a simple process, program. It's pretty complex.
And that's where I see the value personally in having the consortium adopt it at some level universally, because we're much stronger when we're dealing with a larger group of people, and at least in this setting. So I think if we can get it there, we're gonna be hands down better off.
Now, the teamwork is going to, with other in the zone, is going to, just that cross fertilization, if you want to call it that, will be good on from a leadership standpoint.
Rick, the resource that's used now for the Seattle program, does that come from the university, from the department, both, neither, do you know?
Talking about financial,
No, people resources, in other words, coaching, the coaches, the instructors, the leaders of group, group exercise, whatever. Do you know where that resource comes from?
from both the university and from
And the city? So do you, would you contemplate that would have to be similar here? It would both be the university and, let's say, the consortium resources? Is that the idea?
right, it's to make a partnership there.
Thank you.
There was this on the cover page, strategic leadership development, ELA proposal. What's ELA stand?
Executive Leadership Academy.
That's part of the Foster School of Business.
Correct. Stand for excellence.
Is there any action for us to take on this?
I think it's this presentation for you to kind of see where we're at on it.
Any other questions regarding the administrative team report?
Yes, this one parting comment, I guess, is that I like the concept, I like the focus, and I like the title that our officers are the executive leaders of this organization, especially as they move up the chain of command and promotion and what have you. And so by educating folks down to the company officer level and those on the list, that has nothing but positive things for us from this day forward. When we start implementing this, it's going to raise the bar significantly. And I think our people will be a lot more responsive and engaged in the operations within the organizations.
This is just one component of those programs.
Chairman Gates, I have one other comment.
Sure.
And I don't see him out in the audience. Hopefully he's listening up there somewhere, out there somewhere. But when I read Chief Crossan's contribution to the admin report, I was really struck by the tremendous accomplishments in a relatively short time by our fire marshal's office, given the fact that there's been so much change, almost complete turnover, starting with him and almost the entire staff, and just looking through all the accomplishments, nonetheless, I was just really, really impressed. I mean, a lot of the folks sitting out here and elsewhere in your senior staff in 2022 went through a lot of change in assignments, responsibilities, change in authority, span of control, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think anybody had quite the challenge that Chief Crossan had, at least from my point of view. And the fact that he readily accepted that challenge and a whole new area of responsibility with the departure of so many staff people. And, you know, this is such an important function for the community, for the business community especially, and a residential community. Just to keep it going is remarkable. I have not heard anything negative, which is really remarkable when you consider all the change, or negative from the community, from the Chamber of Commerce. So if there is anything out there, I certainly haven't heard it. And I think if that's the case, that whatever, whatever consequences occurred as a result of all that change, it must not have been major, or we probably would have heard about it in terms of impact, adverse impact. So I just want to commend Kevin for hanging in there and sticking with it and leading that whole office through a tremendous change process, which is ongoing. So Kevin, if you're out there, congratulations for
Commissioner, yeah, Commissioner, I'm out here and thank you. And I'll just tell you, it's a whole office. It's not just me. In fact, I'm a very small piece of it in all honesty, because as I'm learning a lot about the work in here, but the whole office is taking it on. I wish I could say we're near the end of it, but honestly, we're kind of in the middle of it. As I did my year review, where we talked about the 3 new people coming in, changing systems, changing how we're doing everything. That's a piece of it. But as I did a little forecasting for what the next 2-3 years brings, you're very right. The other half of the office is going to change in the next 2-3 years. So on behalf of everyone in the office, thank you very much for your comments. We're looking forward to it, and we'll just keep moving forward.
Thank you, Kevin.
Anything else regarding the administrative chief report? Okay. January budget.
Turn it over to Joe.
Thank you. This time of the year, as we transition from one year to another, it's not uncommon for us to be a little bit over budget. There's always a last minute push in December to get things expensed. Sometimes they don't always fall into the fiscal year that we had planned. And there's also typically a lot of payments that are due at the beginning of the year. So again, not uncommon. I went back and looked in 21, in January of 21, we were 3% over budget. Last year, we were 0.62% over budget. So we're doing pretty good this year already at 0.88% over budget. So hopefully it'll be like last year and we'll trend well and end the year at or under budget. And with that, I will hand over the particulars to Finance Supervisor Kelsey Bear.
Okay, our mid-month utilities totaling $343,411.86. Our accounts payable warrants totaling $1,559,436.86. Our payroll direct deposit totaling $1,493,568.76. Our payroll warrants totaling $36,808.28. Our EFTPS totaling $344,276.27. And our medical claims processed as of January 17th totaling $174,008.55. So the total approval for tonight is $3,951,510.58.
Thank you. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the vouchers?
Mr. Chairman, I approve, or move that we approve the vouchers for as presented.
Second.
Any questions regarding vouchers? If not, all in favor of approving the vouchers, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right. At this point, the board is going to adjourn into executive session for RCW 42.30.144B. that portion of a meeting during which the governing body is planning or adopting a strategy or position to be taken by the governing body during the course of any collective bargaining, professional negotiations, or grievance or mediation proceedings, or reviewing proposals made in the negotiations or proceeding while in progress. Joining the board in executive session will be Chief McCafferty, Executive Director Gannon, Division Chief Crossan, Executive Secretary Lori Perry, Director Lee, Division Chief Smith, Assistant Chief Van Volkenberg. What about our attorney? Yeah. Okay, and our attorney Joe Quinn. At this time, we will recess for 5 minutes to get everyone transferred into executive session. We anticipate the executive session lasting for 15 minutes. Action may or may not be taken after the executive session. At the end of executive session, we will take a 2-minute recess to get everyone transferred back over to the regular meeting.